Hi, my name is Claire McLane. I'm going to read some poems to you today, and before I begin, I would love to thank POG. Thank you so much for having me and inviting me to read. I'm very grateful. You do a lot of important work. So the poems I'm going to read today are mostly fairly new, fairly raw, mostly actually out of my notebook. They just were asking to emerge and asking to be heard. So a little bit of an experiment with hearing new work. And, I've been feeling a little guilty. I looked over these poems and realized, gosh, these are dark. These are sad. People don't want to hear dark and sad right now. People need something inspiring, and I was thinking, what am I going to do? And then I thought about it for a little bit, and I thought, no, in the dark, in the interior, in the pre-emergent, the darkness that we kind of scuttle around with our flashlights, bumping into walls and getting stuck and moving through and opening doors and feeling ourselves crunching up before that expansion comes is where a lot of creativity comes from, right? Where there's a lot of inspiration, of those squished inside your cocoon until you can unfurl wings happens. So the emergence comes, but this work is mostly pre-emergent. It's in that darker zone. But so I apologize. But thank you for listening. Also, before I begin, many of these poems have the voice of my son. This work really explores relationships to motherhood, identity, marriage, the domestic, our relationship to earth, our relationship to healing, what is faithfulness, those types of things. So you may hear the voice of my son in the work. All right, thank you. Friday afternoon, doing laundry, heart breaks open. Everything falls out, a cracked egg on the floor. I don't know how to get back what fell out. My eyes closed and tears opened again and again, like luminous flowers blooming under a heavy sea. I was switched off and glimmered on again, in the quiet that called to me alone again, and the bugs and birds and tiny mountain flowers show themselves to me. I was looking, moving my own speed, but looking. The news story about the orca who birthed her calf, and the calf died shortly after. She held aloft her baby for days, diving for its body when she would drop it, bringing it back to the surface, working hard in her grief or disbelief to keep up with the rest of her pod. She had to let go eventually. The thing she had created and birthed had died. It had become a body she could not bear. Tiredness and acceptance. We don't finish our poems, we abandon them. I think our sadness too. A meme on social media that said, "You used to be my cup of tea, but now I drink champagne." And the photo a friend sent of a bright, tender cicada extracting itself from its old exoskeleton. It had all grown too hard and too tight, needing split open. I need to crawl outside of it and look back, reveling at the pristine architecture. Being a mother and a daughter has become your healthcare bill not coded right. Being a mother and a daughter has become an image of a tumor painted by your grandmother. Your father helped her with mathematical calculations to design abstract things, to paint not portraits. Being a mother and daughter has become a mathematical calculation to create something abstract but correct. Being a mother and a daughter has been asked like a question by your son. Being a mother and a daughter has become early scans checking for abstract things. Being a mother and a daughter has become a question your husband asks you. Being a mother and a daughter is two breasts hanging from a heart the size of the volume of love. Being a mother and a daughter has become your face banging itself over and over against a brick. Being a mother and a daughter will ask for blood over and over until there is no more blood, and this will happen. Being a mother and a daughter is knowing this and still being a mother and a daughter. How cancer starts to blur my vision, horsetail flicking at some sunshine that happened 20 years ago. Spiders out in the field, spinning and making, awaiting their catch. Could you have asked me not to lie down in the field? Not to lie where the deer had been early in the morning? A magic tunnel of golden rods is a letter I can write to you now. A sort of tunnel vision when vision meant green and gilded in dirt and cookies and Gatorade. Can I take your child and lay it down inside my child? Yes, come nest. In me, come occupy some web or net, like a verb that makes you wait. A walking poem. Bachelor. For Bachelor. Started my walk and worried I didn't have anything to write. I don't feel good. I'm getting sick, I think. But then a lizard skitters across the lavender gravel. Limbs akimbo, throws itself into the safety of a rosemary bush. Impenetrable. I wonder, how many lizards in there? Seed pods and speedway traffic, a thin gauze, the clouds draped across the late afternoon sun on its southern axis. I see the building where my mother has worked for nearly 30 years, where I grew up exploring the gray halls and riding the elevator over and doing homework and visiting cubicles for the candy and free pens. Bushes cut into cube shapes. Why do people do that? But like in a state of defiance or rather simple grace, two small stalks of white star flowers. Little cement containers to catch the rainwater, truck bed filled with college students, their necks craning hard at the right turn. So many rosemary bushes. I never realized how they comfort me. Massive new construction dwarfs historic houses with their bare dirt yards, fenceless, naked into the sound of ventilation systems. Last year's, or maybe this year's, bird's nest, matted to the forefront of the Palo Verde branch, over center of the sidewalk, little leaves sprinkled down. The round, loud hum of old belts in the car pulled over next to me reminds me my knees hurt. Freshly painted utility boxes hum in their green coats, warning stickers for invisible things. Prickly pear covered in cochineal, mounded up from a rodent or a squirrel. Someone who burrows. Their home is here. Makes me smile because rodents are unkempt. This building is kempt. Candy wrappers and Starbucks cups, little herds of college girls in velvet tube tops and cutoffs, their eyes blinking in the sunlight. Dog shit and oil stains, asphalt patches. I'm realizing I haven't looked up. A signpost with a bent bolt, oleander bushes in the median with their many seashell pink faces. I'm back at the lavender gravel. Lizard, where did you go? Our orbit has changed. Scooped out melon jar past its prime. Heave your innards up, this platter is a wait and think. Think again, squeeze the ringer, your tongue's got just enough left. Something's trickling down the sides of your chin, just liquid enough to, just squirmy enough to, let's deaden it, flat paint, sunny side up, frying pan, scan, pan it, eyeballs can come too. Heart dribble, lobster pot, we're in it to scream. Flop and slop it all down the drain. Do a mop dance waltz, bring the bayonet for fun. Dry leaf mouth, roof, hover your crumbs. I'll longitude your latitude if lassitude will blow. Creep upon my peepers with your creaky old bones. Shore up and ship out your wedding ring on my toe. Stow away, blow away, cover and pray. This melon used to be a feast, now rind and shoulders kiss and tell. A dry and tasteless jerky. Can you plant the flowers that you bring? Their stems in each of these hip sockets. Wrench me this way, wrench me that way, piss into a puddle. There used to be flesh in this concave. Tap it, thump it, we'll do a dance. This melon I can throw. Ode to a sticky note. What conversation could your day-glow cheeks possibly give? Your curled lips in friendly snarl, an ocean wave meant to remind me, remind me, remind me. Yet despite our late-night dream sequences, where insects wear your chromatic evening gowns, and I feel a lustful fear, you sit an open cube of possibility, an arrangement so orderly and precise. How can I not yearn to peel you back layer by layer and tell you, forget me, forget me, forget me. Whisper these secrets in mute communion with your full moon gaze, your fluorescent office scape, a zoo to flutter your wings against. And yet you have your sticky side, and all my lists, a mosaic on the wall. I need sleep to be taught to breathe again. Is my patience a good thing? I don't trust. Maybe that's a good thing. And now the anger, the stages of a broken heart, as steady and unpredictable as a horse. The nervous system an implosion, the chest a cavity for a slaughtered bird where the job wasn't finished, all red and writhing. And somehow, exist is what I just need to do, a function for the rest of the week and the next and the next. I wonder at that. I wonder at the tender thing held smashed under the heel of so many boots, how I step outside and look up at the stars and shiver and can feel the hundreds of thousands of other women stacked like robed dominoes next to me in the moonlight, how their heart in my body can be broken again and again and again, and I still wake up in the morning and drive the car and walk into work. Pre-emergent. Ode to what I have captured. To harbor you that is a shape wholly in its continuity, and you of such intelligence that your hide and seek is a torture. I could try to take off my body, hang my skin on a fence and power spray it, unlock my bones at the joints like caps on bottles, pour into them bag of wind and water to do what they are so good at, erode your presence, find what makes me tick and disengage my motors, my hunger. They say, like rats in a cupboard, your destruction like clowns on the TV, a music video to the beat of proteins and enzymes. A droopy face so electric it fucks itself over and over, which seems to say this could be about belief systems. What is it that you believe in? A corrosiveness to your implosion? How can silence be so goddamn loud? When a brain swells, something blooms and blooms and blooms. The visual is clouds of flowers building, climaxing, migrating away on repeat. A little black box has been retrieved from the wreckage of a muddy 16-year existence. Of course, the only contents it offers are questions. I want to stop asking questions, stop being afraid to answer. This one's a sort of call and response or an interview. 1. What does it feel like to be injured? A bird, the batting of a heart against something, a closed hand, sweet, not breath. 2. What are the boundaries of your body? In lies my symptoms, my shaking hands, some micro-electricity misfiring, my heart, you, my son. I teach you your body is your body and no one else's, but mine. You walk around sharing our DNA, a fruit passed between our hands. 3. What does it feel like to be exiled? Self leading self by the hand, to be bored into a whole fruit, rolled out onto an expanse of dirt, dry air, and the hands opened, left quiet. 4. Where is the fracture? Where is there not a fracture? Disintegration, defray, defragment, Tetris. Oops, I'm not fast enough. Music, an electronic waterfall of darkness. You are losing. Why can't you follow this conversation? The thing takes hold again and again. It's like water, like a womb without any of the comfort, a trapping of development, a growth not allowed, a mutation raped upon. 5. What would it take to find wholeness? Being peeled, been peeled. What's left? 6. Who is the self you need to create today? Can I fight this question? To fall upon, to prey upon, this is a sword swallower question. Have you seen how much saliva gets left on the blade? Like a trick question, I am my own gag reflex. Do you want to visit me? My windpipe, a migration of invasion. There are more insects on this planet in physical weight than anything else. Then truth and untruth are a dialogue that does and does not take place in the physical world. We talk to our son about manifestation. We talk and act like this is a choice or a thing we believe in. I'm not sure I do believe this. Why do we pass on narratives that we do not believe in? November 2019. I am a Greek god, but with a box over my head. I am a Greek god, but with a box over my head. I am a Greek god, but with a box over my head. I put water on my face to drown something, but ended up breathing through my mouth. I asked my chest to be a cavity that could not eat, but a full-grown hawk climbed into it. A bolt of lightning at night driving west on Grant Road in October, my favorite month, or it will be again. Somehow the whole thing fits in there. Talons and wings and beak equipped with saliva and blades. And I have the pain, still of some creatures that still asks things of me. There's a moon lying on the ground in the hallway, with tape all over it, like some version of a starfish being tortured, but it's cardboard, and we can walk all over it, softening at the palms of our tired heels. You, a maniac in a maniacal candy bag, how many pieces have you eaten? I'm taking a break. The last raptor I saw was a clumsy falcon tripping through the branches of a hackberry. I looked at it for a minute. It looked back, fitting its legs over knobbly tree parts and pulling parts of itself back in. I wonder what the cemetery must think of all this. Faithfulness doesn't mean much to plaster and creosote and white paint. Traffic still buzzes next to people like me, still driving to therapy and Starbucks. One or two more from the journal, and then maybe I'll end with a different poem. Thank you. Thank you for listening. I had to make my chest an inferno, a raging ripple of disintegrative heat. A place where no bird or birdsong could live, a place where eyeballs are stripped. I built a kiln, compressed everything, gathered, vibrating all of it across me. To the center, like ropes, I heaved and gathered the kindling to. A hot square of writhing, white heat, white light, white desert, flash of teeth. I needed to build that oven so that I myself would not combust a cloud of dagger-eyed razor moths. I put her face in it. I put the insects in it. I put the alcohol in it. I tried but could not put the trust in it. I wondered there's no door, no valve for the gas, nor any source to the gas. But this hawk could withstand the heat of it all, looming and crouching and watching. I looked harder, and its eyes are made of fire too. No wonder. I fantasize about a huge tattoo covering my whole chest, wings lacing my ribs like fingers holding on. It's painful to get this tattoo, and I love it. Knit some skin and pain and watch the contraption breathe. The relentless needle hammer, some cleansing device. White light, white fire, white desert. Blow up the sky until it reveals the sky. A small, square furnace. Do I keep it? Pregnant and hawks still. The mason jar finally back in the dishwasher. The elegance of butterflies lost from the crystal walls inside. Over half the caterpillars became brilliant rust contrasted against the electric blue of November-December skies. The rest curled around themselves, tongues unfurling and half-rolling back, legs tripoding around the shed, cocoons on the bottom of the jar. These didn't make it. Some do and some just don't, Mama, you say. You also say, "Hi, little brother," to these metamorphic creatures, with a tenderness that makes me buckle. Your shoulders rounded, your filthy growing fingers and hands gently coaxing these creatures. Inside of me, there is a tiny flesh dot, dividing and dividing. August's Dream, December 29th, 2019. Mama, I had a crazy dream last night. You know when it rained meat in 1913 or something? Well, I dreamed that it was raining intestines, human intestines, and there were a bunch of people, and they made a sort of umbrella, well, not an umbrella, but like a tent with books. There was a velociraptor, and it was covered in intestines, and it shook them off and went into the book tent. All the people ran and screamed. Then the mountains were all pink like they were last night from the sun. But it was from all the intestines. When turning on a light in the pre-dawn rain-infused Tuesday is a violence. When losing another child, no matter how complicated, is a tally mark to be pulled up someday in conversation, to be referenced like a file. No longer the bloody masses of planets descending from between my thighs, but ideas. We talk about the internet, evil. We talk about an asteroid ending it all. Relief. Gosh, I said a couple more, I'm sorry. These kind of blend in together. Let's see. I'll switch out of this mode. I'm just going to read two last poems. This is from a project actually through the university, through the loveliness of Allison Hawthorne Deming, a project on Grand Manan Island in New Brunswick. And these are two poems that came from my time there. They're both called The Island. I have tried to shut off certain parts. I haven't been feeling motherly. What does that mean anyway? I've been sleeping all through the night. These small cupped miracles of night, these holy domestics of my body, alone in space, not counting anything, not listening for anything, unbothered at the potential of any ghosts that may come up the stairs and peek through the creakiness of my door. When we passed a lemonade stand on the side of the road earlier today, I didn't want to stop. I didn't even want to look at the two boys standing in the sun with their sign. Their plump, sunburned cheeks, their shiny hair, their over-sweetened lemonade, their misshapen cookies. My mother body awoken by them. My desire to alter something to make it safer, to protect the very childhood they were inhabiting. I wanted to scoop them up in some wide apron of myth, simply because it seemed they were too close to the road. My fairy tale heart fluttering in mad motherly song. It was too much to bear. The island. 25 cents in your hand and a million kids chattering on sugar daddies. This was summer on the island in one sentence. There are less gulls because there's less herring. Seems simple enough, but memory is not something simple. It's like counting a million moving targets and you care deeply about every one of them. I love that you still turn your face instinctively towards me when I rub the back of my fingers on your cheek, but you haven't nursed in years. The habits born from the needs of our mouths are slow to shift, even when the umbilical cord is quick to cut. Thank you. Thank you for listening, and thank you to POG.